My name is Kelly.
And my name is Will.
We are two Florida attorneys
Who love our 5 dogs.
and 2 cats.
And love listening to true crime.
Mainly me.
So I hope you enjoy our show as we delve into all things spooky.
This is For Crime's Sake. Happy Monday. We have little Oliver with us today, and he just got groomed, so he looks oh so fancy.
And we posted a picture of him on our website, forcrimesake.com, and on our social media. So, Kelly, what is on the docket this week?
So, I kind of wanted to mention the sensory deprivation tank that we just did. So, okay, so I know this is a sound kind of crazy, but they have different types, and basically they have some where you're like basically fully in water, and it's like the same temperature as it's like
body temperature.
Yeah, it's body temperature, so it's like seamless, and you're not supposed to be able to feel anything in there. We did what was, I think it was like a zero gravity one.
Yeah, and dry immersion.
Yeah, it was
or something.
dry immersion, and yeah, you're not in water, but it's like kind of like
a big inflatable balloon, sort of.
Wild. Anyway, the whole theory is that it's supposed to make you very relaxed, help with sleep. Like 30 minutes in, this tank is supposed to be the equivalent of 4 hours REM sleep. And I have to say, I was very surprised, but I have been sleeping so well ever since.
Yeah, it's been great. It's really nice.
So I want to try it out again to see if it's, like a placebo effect, or if it, in fact, it actually does what it claims to do.
It's worth trying again.
Yeah,
for sure.
It was a really good experience for the first time. So anyway, what about you?
So as you know, I have some new plans for the backyard for springtime and into summertime. It's going to involve some marble chips and some pine bark and some juniper and some other nice things. So I'm hopeful that I'm going to be able to work on that this week to weekend and maybe get that all done.
Ooh, I'm very excited about that. I love when our backyard looks nice.
Me too.
So today's case is about the murder of Kirsten Costas. Lifetime has made a couple of movies about this case, and it is really fascinating, not just because of who ended up being the killer, but the sentence that person received. Sources for this episode are lauriajohnston.medium.com, thecampoclaw.com, ranker.com, and thenewyorktimes.com. Kirsten Costas was born in Oakland, California, to Arthur and Barrett Costas, and she had a brother named Peter. The Costases lived a privileged lifestyle and had moved to Orinda, California to raise their children. And Orinda is a suburb of Oakland, and it is considered one of the best places to live in California.
It's very nice.
And Kirsten thrived there. She attended Miramonte High School, and Miramonte, interestingly enough, is the only public school in Orinda.
It's a wealthy area.
Yeah, to say the least, very affluent. And Kirsten was on the cheerleading squad as well as the varsity swim team. She also excelled academically and was also civically involved. Kirsten was very popular and people really gravitated towards her. And one of these people was Bernadette Proddy. Bernadette was the youngest of 6 children. Her parents were devout Catholics, and while the family provided for their children, they were not living a lifestyle like the Costas family at all. Her dad was a retired public utilities supervisor for the city of San Francisco, and her mom stayed at home and took care of the house and family.
So, probably a decent San Francisco pension, but a lot of mouths to feed.
Yes, big family. Bernadette had friends, but she just wasn't as popular as Kirsten. But she aspired to that. Bernadette tried out for the cheerleading squad, but unfortunately she didn't make the team.
Bummer.
while Kirsten did.
Bummer.
Yes. Kirsten was on the yearbook committee, but again, Bernadette didn't make the cut.
Again and again.
And Bernadette took these setbacks as serious disappointments. However, both girls did work in the student office together. Bernadette was jazzed about getting a chance to hang out with Kirsten. Kirsten was easily able to convince Bernadette to do favors for her and her friends. Favors that, of course, Kirsten wasn't willing to take the chance and do herself because it was risky and she didn't want to get in trouble.
She didn't want to blemish that college record.
No. But Bernadette went along with it in order to get closer to Kirsten.
Yeah, that happens.
And Bernadette was able to join the Bobbies, which was the nickname, I think it was the way the locals used to refer to the Bobolinks, which was an organization that would organize fundraisers and charitable projects. But it was honestly known as a type of sorority where the girls would have parties and plan events.
So really getting ready for college.
Oh, yes. Right? Bernadette had hoped that she would be able to win over Kirsten and that the two would, grow to be friends. But unfortunately, that never happened.
That's tough.
Yeah, and Bernadette felt really disregarded, it seems.
Yeah, that's a harsh feeling.
And all of these feelings and insecurities, everything came to a head on a ski trip.
Uh-oh.
Bernadette had saved up money from babysitting all summer in order to go on this trip. She had bought secondhand equipment and clothes for the trip. But Kirsten had new clothes and skis, and she made several comments about Bernadette's stuff.
Oh, that's uncalled for.
And these comments really stung Bernadette and damaged her already precarious self-esteem.
Yeah, that's harsh.
Unfortunately, this did not make Bernadette decide to just stay away from Kirsten. I'm done. That was nice.
Yeah,
done.
you would hope.
Just the opposite, in fact. It just made her vie even more for her attention. And Bernadette had come up with just the plan to try to do that.
Oh, no.
So the school year ended, summer began, and Kirsten went away to cheer camp, and Bernadette got an idea. She was going to call her house from a payphone and spoke with Kirsten's mom. She told her all about a dinner that was planned for the following Saturday for the new Bobbies. She said it was a secret and made sure to never give Kirsten's mom her number. And just said that she would pick Kirsten up for this dinner, the secret dinner, at 8:30 p.m.
Oh.
June 23rd, 1984 arrives. Bernadette tells her parents she has a babysitting job and that she needs to borrow their car, which was a Ford Pinto.
Okay.
Mustard color, to be exact.
It's a rough little car.
Was there a thing that came out actually about Pintos? No? Was there?
I think Pintos ended up being really dangerous.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, there was something
Yeah.
about the design that was objectively super dangerous.
Yeah. Anyway, Kirsten, believing there is a secret dinner with the Bobbies, walks out of her house to find Bernadette waiting for her.
Oh, this is so creepy.
She climbs. I know, right? It's already the secret
it's
plan where
really-
you're luring someone out of their car.
Very, very nefarious and frightening.
I know. She climbs into the car, but as they, start driving and stuff, at some point it seems Kirsten realized that Bernadette was not dressed for a dinner. So Kirsten confronts Bernadette, who admits it was just a ploy to get Kirsten to leave her house so that they could go to a party, like a college party.
Huh.
I think Berkeley was nearby, and it was something, they were going to go hang out with a college crowd.
So still creepy, but plausible, I suppose.
Bernadette would later tell police that Kirsten told her to pull into a parking lot so that they could smoke a joint. And according to Bernadette, they were there for 40 minutes. Bernadette said that Kirsten offered her a hit of the joint, but that she declined. And
Sure.
And this started an argument.
Naturally, Bernadette is a good kid.
Well, I mean, kids, that doesn't mean you're not a good kid.
I know, but I think that's the implication she's trying to make to whoever she's making this statement to.
No, and I think, and I heard this mentioned on a couple of things that, for someone who was trying to get some sort of, in with Kirsten, would she have really turned it down? She was already doing favors. Is that something? I don't know. And I guess, and obviously that's not the issue here, but yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
And at some point, Kirsten realized that she hadn't been invited to the party that Bernadette was taking them to.
Well, that's awkward. You don't want to show up uninvited.
Exactly. She ended up, as a result, refusing to go.
Fair enough.
So this led to Bernadette accusing Kirsten of spoiling everything and telling her how much she admired her. Kirsten,
weirder and weirder.
Yeah, it's weird. Kirsten was not happy about this, barely, and told Bernadette how pathetic it was and how pathetic she was.
Ooh.
And I mean, obviously this is coming from Bernadette.
Yeah.
Kirsten ended up getting out of the car and she walked to the home of Alexander and Mary Jane Arnold in order to get away from Bernadette. So here's the situation, right? We have a girl being lured out of her house with a fake dinner. She then now something transpires in this car and some sort of argument or disagreement, and now she's walking to a stranger's home.
Yeah, not ideal.
Yes. And this all happened, and she was, at the Arnold house about an hour after she had left her house.
Okay.
So this is about an hour later. So Kirsten walks up to their house and asks them to use their phone, if she can use their phone to call home, because as she told them, her friend had gotten weird on her.
Okay.
So the Arnolds let her use their phone, but unfortunately her family was out, so no one answered.
Oh.
But, and during this, Mary Jane saw a girl hanging out outside their home, like around like the peripheral.
Oh, creepy.
Yeah.
I can guess who that might be.
Oh, she was described as having light brown hair and a round face. Alexander Arnold offered to take Kirsten home, and Kirsten readily agreed. She's like, Yes, I need to get away. Things have gotten weird now. I need a way home.
Wow, she was that weirded out that she went with a strange man.
That's the thing. So Alexander Arnold would say that Kirsten seemed relatively unbothered by the situation with her friend, and that during the ride she talked about school.
Okay.
However, obviously, if the fact she didn't feel comfortable getting back in the car and she wanted, as you said, a strange man to take her home, I think
clearly she was rattled.
Yes.
She was clearly, but I suspect putting on a brave front for this stranger.
Yep.
Just making conversation.
And Mr. Arnold did see a mustard-colored Ford Pinto following behind them.
Okay.
Sure enough, it was Bernadette following them to the Costas home.
Yeah.
So Kirsten gets out of the car and heads towards her house, and Bernadette ends up running towards her.
Oh.
But Bernadette, before she gets out of her car, she grabbed a knife.
Oh my.
That was just allegedly happened to be in her parents' car.
What? Like we all have.
Oh, and listen to this. She would claim it was there due to her sister using it to like cut up some sort of vegetables while she was at work for a snack. But this knife was it had an 18-inch blade.
What?
This night, I'm like,
That's like a machete.
it was basically a machete. I'm like, I don't know what type of vegetables you're eating for a snack.
Right? Like
It's like a whole eggplant.
a very, like a completely hardened coconut.
I know,
like, what?
It's like, here's my coconut.
That's an absurd tool to
It's
use
just
for
bizarre.
a snack. That's like a jungle cutting tool.
Yeah. So anyway, Kirsten told her to go away, but Bernadette stabbed her twice in the stomach. Her hand was also hit with the blade as she went to defend herself with it.
Oh my gosh.
And then Bernadette stabbed her twice in the back before running to her car and leaving Kirsten to die.
Wow.
She was stabbed a total of 5 times.
That's so brazen.
Here's the thing. Alexander Arnold was still there in his car. He was waiting for Kirsten to get to her front door safely. So he saw the whole attack unfold. However, he didn't realize at first that she had been stabbed. He thought it was a fist fight.
Oh.
So he takes off after the Ford Pinto that Bernadette was driving.
Oh no.
A neighbor heard the commotion and ran out of the house and held Kristen as she bled out.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That took a really dark turn.
Kirsten was 15 years old.
Oh wow.
She was a baby.
She was.
One of the
So
stab
sad.
wounds had bisected a major artery.
Oh wow. Wow.
So police were called, and Alexander had returned after not catching up with the car. He described the attacker as a chunky teenage girl who had stringy blonde hair and was wearing track pants. He also mentioned that she was driving a Ford Pinto. He tells the officers about the sequence of events leading up to the fatal attack on Kirsten Costas. After stabbing and killing Kirsten, Bernadette would go home. She wouldn't call the police or tell her parents what she had done. She would make no attempt to save Kirsten or get her help. Instead, she would go home and go on a walk with her mother.
That's insane.
Yep.
And this is wild, but already I can start to see some interesting legal issues at play here that we have not seen in our other cases.
So Arinda mourned the loss of Kirsten Costas.
Sure. It's so sad. She's so young.
So young. Hundreds of people attended. Oh, and it was brutal.
Yeah.
It was so brutal. It
really was.
And there were witnesses.
I know, brazen and
it was
brutal.
a young girl who was seen as the perpetrator.
Yeah. It's wild.
Horrendous. Hundreds of people attended her funeral, including Bernadette, who was seen weeping.
What?
Yep. She had the audacity to go to her funeral.
They hadn't put that together by then?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, wow. I just assumed that she would have been caught, like, right away.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
wow.
that is not what happened.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
investigators were scrambling to find the killer. And, homicides were uncommon in Orinda. As we said, it's a nice area. It's a suburb. People are, working in Oakland.
So I would assume
commuting,
high property values
Yeah.
would mean high property taxes,
Yep.
which would mean really well-funded law enforcement. Not how that worked out.
Well, I think it was just uncommon. So they just didn't have necessarily the experience, but
That's fair. I guess if you don't have the experience,
Yeah.
that doesn't help.
the police interviewed students, including Bernadette, and she told them that she was babysitting the night that Kirsten was attacked. And
That holds with her
what she
alibi that
told
she
her
kind of
parents.
set up. Yeah.
And she was asked to take a lie detector test, which she agreed to. And it seems that the results came back as inconclusive.
Yeah. And a lie detector is sketchy at the best of times.
Yeah, and they're not admissible in court. But obviously, law enforcement does rely on them to kind of lead them.
Yes, they are
to correct
investigative tools used very often, but an inconclusive result on an inadmissible test, I'm going to say, keep looking at her.
Unfortunately, police did not do this. They never verified her alibi. They interviewed...
And that would have been easy to verify.
Yep. But they did interview, I mean, they were trying, I have to say. They interviewed somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 people. They examined 750 Pintos.
750 Pintos?
There was apparently just a lot of Pintos everywhere.
Wow, a wild number of Pintos. Jeez.
Yeah.
Anyway, odd.
So during this time, the rumor mill went crazy.
I'm sure.
There was a girl who went to Miramonte High School named Nancy Kane, and she was considered goth from what it seems like, and she had been bullied by Kirsten, and the other students seemed to believe that she was in fact the killer.
Oh, gotta blame the goth girl. That seems unfair.
The situation got so bad that Nancy's mom refused to let her take a lie detector test. And Nancy ended up leaving Miramonte in order to go to a new school.
I don't blame her. That's sad, but I don't blame her for leaving. That's messed up.
But this kind of was a double-edged sword because she got away from it, but people saw this as a sign of guilt.
Yeah, I know. And there's nothing to be done about that. It's like if you stay, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I feel for Nancy because she obviously was just, she had nothing to do with it.
She became a victim in all of this. That's sad. It's too bad.
As a new school year started, the Orinda police asked the FBI for assistance with the case. So the FBI puts together a profile of Kirsten's attacker. And it was definitely different than what Orinda police had. They said her attacker would be a teenage girl, the same age as Kirsten.
Yeah.
They would have been acquaintances, not friends. They also said that the killer would not be remorseful.
Interesting. FBI kind of hit that out of the park.
Exactly. Kirsten's parents hired a private investigator to look into their daughter's case. When he was looking into the case, he found that no one had looked into Bernadette's alibi.
That's elementary.
Yep. So he calls the family she was supposedly babysitting for that night, and he discovered that she hadn't, in fact, been babysitting for them after all.
Yeah, super easy alibi to check on.
And so 6 months after Kirsten's murder, he passes this information along to police.
Thankfully somebody found out.
So police bring Bernadette in for a second interview now. And they go over the FBI's profile and ask her if it sounds like anyone she knows. And Bernadette responds saying, me.
Oh, interesting.
She mentioned during the course of this interview that the public humiliation would be worse than going to prison. But they didn't arrest her at this point. Instead, they let her go home. So Bernadette goes home, and she there tries to talk to her mother, but her mother said that she was too tired to talk then.
What?
So Bernadette writes her parents a letter confessing to killing Kirsten and acknowledging that she doesn't know why she did it.
Wow.
She asked them to wait 30 minutes before reading the letter. And then she headed to school.
Wow.
Once the Proddies read the letter, they went to Miramonte to pick Bernadette up. They took her to the police station.
Good for them.
There she confessed to killing Kirsten Costas. And do you want to hear what she asked the police following this confession?
Yeah.
Do I have to go back to Miramonte High School? I can't live if it is known. I would rather die.
Oh, wow.
And I think that really shows how important people's perception of her was. Like
the social pressure she felt. Wow. I wonder if that's, we're a little far removed from high school now, but, I wonder if that's like a shared experience or if she was just, I don't know, uniquely susceptible. Obviously she was not well, but, that's a lot. That's heavy.
As news of Bernadette's confession spread, the town was floored. How could someone that people knew and have trusted have done such a horrible, brutal thing?
Yeah.
I mean, she was babysitting for people's children.
Yeah.
Not on the night that, not on that
No,
specific
not when
night.
she
Not on
said
the night
she was.
but
In
other
general.
times she had.
Yes.
The New York Times quoted a woman named Suzanne Barr, who Bernadette used to babysit for 6 years. And she said, "There has to be a terrible mistake. I don't know who else I would trust my children to." She's full of grace, sympathy, and love.
Wow. Really misread that.
Even with the confession, the case ended up going to trial, and she was tried as a juvenile.
And that's interesting. She was, 15?
She was 15 when she committed the murder, and I think 16 when she went to trial.
But they kept it in juvenile court.
They did. And the defense offered a plea to murder 2, but the state declined this offer, wanting murder 1, which would include that it was premeditated.
And what was the max that they could serve at that point?
The max would have been until she was 25, which would have been 9 years
As a juvenile?
as a juvenile.
Okay.
It was a 3-day trial in front of a judge, and there was no jury because
She's a juvenile.
she's a juvenile. Yeah, and interestingly enough, for anybody who doesn't know this, that juveniles are not entitled to a trial by jury.
No, not. They don't have the same rights.
They have a lot of the same rights, just that is not one of them.
That is not one of them. Also, no
That's a big one.
privacy. No privacy rights at school. Don't try it. Won't work.
Bernadette told the judge during the trial that she had killed Kirsten because she thought that she was going to tell everyone at school that she was really weird.
Wow.
So the judge found her guilty of murder too.
Yeah.
He rejected the state's position that the murder was premeditated.
Interesting. And that I was curious about that right from the get-go with these facts.
I mean, here's the thing though. Okay, like she lured this girl out of her house under false pretenses. She then had this 18-inch blade knife. I mean, are we kidding? Come on. And then followed her from the Arnolds to her house.
I agree. The presence of the blade, I think, makes the difference. Now, I'm not sure. I don't think there's any evidence where you can say it was premeditated up to that moment other than the presence of the knife.
Bernadette's sister, Gina, actually did testify during the trial and said that she did keep a knife in there.
Oh, interesting.
Her sister did say that.
Nobody's ever lied under oath.
Yeah, I mean, you
can't blame her.
Well, we don't know. Obviously, right? I mean, but I think it's honestly, even if we take the fact, let's just even say, okay, they kept the knife in there to cut these vegetables. I mean, it just seems like the whole thing was very orchestrated. The girl was in a track pants. Is that party attire? It just feels like
a
setup.
It was definitely a kidnapping, and it absolutely ended in a murder. The knife, the presence of the knife. The following
with the knife. So she tried to escape, went to the Arnold's house, and then Bernadette waited outside their house and then got back in her car and followed her to her house where she attacked her, ran towards her in a blitz attack.
And I agree that the following is problematic, but I don't think that it in and of itself is indicative of intent to murder. I think she could have been following for any number of reasons and developed the intent to murder right then.
She could have, we obviously know when she left her car with the blade that she was intending,
at that point.
And I think that's enough time to run from the area to the door. That to me is enough.
Unless she's so enraged. Acting with a depraved heart. It's a stretch. I'm playing devil's advocate a bit in case anyone can't tell, but it is a bit of a stretch. but not, I don't think, a legally impossible one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I disagree with that part of it. I think premeditated all day. I think it should have been murder one, but
fair. And I think that's probably true. I think it probably should have been.
She was sentenced on April Fool's Day, 1985, to the maximum allowed, which was 9 years.
Okay.
Bernadette was sent to the California Youth Academy, located in Ventura, California. She got her GED while there and was paroled after just 7 years.
Wow.
She was only 23 years old when she was released.
And she murdered another child.
Yep, and she was still young enough at 23 to still have a life.
Yeah.
And that is what she did. She moved out of California, changed her name, got married, and had a baby.
Oh, that's wrong.
Yep. The Costas family was understandably very, against her release.
Yeah, I don't blame them.
They ended up moving to Hawaii. They did not believe the story about the knife, and same.
Yeah.
No, too much. They also didn't believe that Bernadette had any intention of taking Kirsten to a party, but rather planned on killing her. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's a fair assumption.
I think with the ruse,
yeah,
with the clothes, with the it's like all of it in its totality does not seem like you're just trying to take her out for a nice little chat.
No, I think it's abundantly clear she intended to murder her.
Yeah, it's just really sad, but I thought that this case was, shocking, not just because it was, the killer ended up being another 15-year-old girl, and this seems to have stemmed from some sort of jealousy, competition, something like that, and it's
which in and of itself is shocking. It's a crazy thing to think that she could have felt that much pressure and rage that it led to something like this.
And hopefully, honestly, those 7 years made her a better person.
That's what you gotta
hope. I mean, I don't know if this is my idea of justice, but I guess who am I to say? But it just feels
you take a child's life and you serve 7 years for it. It doesn't sit well.
It hurts.
Yeah, it does.
So how do you think little Ollie did?
I think he was pretty well behaved all told.
He was.
Yeah, I'm pleased with his behavior. He's a little gentleman.
Too. Yep. And you have to check out the pictures. We posted a picture of Kirsten on our website and our social media.
And make sure to give us a review and a 5-star rating wherever you listen. And it really helps us out. We appreciate it.
Yep. And we will be back next week. Thanks, guys.